We're good now.
Hi. Welcome to Unnecessary Roughness, Barstool's college football podcast, brought to you as always by the delicious and great and wonderful people at High Noon Hard Seltzer. They've got the El Pres pack. They have the great new flavors. Casey's going to tell you all about them as I add one word to every sentence every single week about the deliciousness of High Noon.
highnoonspirits.com. You can find it. I know you're probably listening to this thinking about, oh, Christmas is this weekend. How am I going to get through it? I've got to travel. I'm not going to my normal liquor. Do what?
It's on Monday.
Christmas is Monday.
Well, Christmas Eve is Sunday.
No. This is Christmas weekend.
You're probably, here's my thought process. This is where I was going. You're probably traveling this weekend. If you are traveling for the holidays and you're thinking to yourself, where am I going to get my high noon? Because normally I go to my local liquor store. I go to my convenience store. You don't know where you're going to find it. Go to highnoonspirits.com. And then that time between Christmas and New Year's, as we all know, time doesn't exist. Whether you work in sports or not, you never know what day it is, but you always know it's a day for high noon. Jack, Katie, the tangerine, maybe throw it in a stocking. Maybe it's a nice stocking stuffer. Maybe go find everybody's favorite flavor and just drop a nice high noon in there. We know how delicious they are, and who doesn't want extra high noon in their stocking?
And we learned last week that tangerine is associated with Christmas. And it is associated with Christmas. It was gas, but it is associated with Christmas, and we love high noon. I can't wait to drink some over Christmas. There's some great bowl games, some great NFL games, basketball, you name it. High noon goes perfect with it.
We all agree that Monday is the worst day that Christmas can be on.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the worst day that Christmas can be on. It needs to be. I think Christmas should be like Wednesday or Thursday, right in the middle of the week. So that when your work or your school gives you a week off, they have to give you a couple extra days afterwards. We're going to be back to work. Everybody's going to be back to work January 2nd.
I think Sunday is worse, right?
Sunday at least it's Sunday. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, but then Sunday is worse because then imagine January 2nd being on Monday. That would suck. Like we have to go back on a Monday that's January 2nd. Especially because this year the college football playoff games are on the 1st too. So it's like normally we do this on on New Year's Eve, which I understand we don't normally have a New Year's Eve, whatever. But then you get a full day. Now it's like, well, no, like you're going right back into the office. But
speaking of, I should have researched this a long time ago. But obviously the semifinal games are on Monday the 1st. The championship game on the following Monday?
Yes.
There's only seven days now between the semifinals and the championship, which I guess.
Remember that year it was like 12 days?
Yeah.
Or like 13. Yeah. I think if it happens, well, next year it's a completely different schedule. But I think it was if it happened on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Then they would give you 13 days. I think it was that.
They want Monday. They Monday is the championship day. They hang to that. So if next year, they might give them 13 days next year because they're not going to give them 6 days.
But next year will be all different because maybe I'm ignorant here, but do we know when the first rounds of the playoffs are supposed to happen?
Oh, I forgot we're going to 12 next year. I'm not prepared for any of this.
That's
change is happening too fast for me.
Does that mean we're going to have the national championship game like late January?
No.
Mid-April.
I'm pretty sure everything is the same.
After the Final Four.
They're doing the men's basketball Final Four and the championship football game the same weekend.
Yes.
Katie, are you pulling up the schedule or no?
I shall right now.
I will. I thought you.
Can I give? And I rarely do this because I generally hate my coworkers with 3 exceptions. I'd like to give Casey Smith a little bit of credit because that video you did yesterday of panhandling for Katie Stats and saying, and the Sarah McLachlan song in the background, and for just $2 a day you can support her. That was a very fucking funny video.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I thought it was awesome, and Katie deserves it.
Katie does deserve it. I had a bunch of different ideas of where to go, but I thought, a good old fashioned Sarah McLachlan ASPCA video.
Mhm.
Like I don't know, Brandon. Like I know you and I are older than these two, but like every time those came on, the commercials came on TV, you immediately got sad. All you had to do is hear like the very first note of that song, and I thought, what better than to say that Katie is an abused dog than dealing with you every day?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, me and you being the same age practically. I'm
Yeah.
I'm 44. You're 42. But yeah, us basically being raised at the exact same time. We saw the exact same commercial, so I'm right there with you, Casey, because we're the exact same age.
You're 10 years older than me, but I do remember those.
I agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree, but I do appreciate that. Unfortunately, she did not win the competition. She should have, but she didn't. So, you know, what can you do?
There are some external factors outside of our control, which you know, there should be some revoting sometime, or like maybe we should look back at the votes, you know, recount. Sometimes, you know, there's some ballot stuffing, whatnot. That being said, the college football playoff schedule next year, I don't really like it.
Oh, no, what is it?
Okay. So the first round on campus starts with a Friday night game on December 20th, and then 3 games on December 21st. I don't love a Friday night game, to be honest. I think it's the worst night to be on TV. And I think it's I mean, I guess they'll put the one
I'll throw this idea at you, Jack. I don't think all Fridays are created equal. I think a Friday in October, a Friday in July, a Friday in April. I think the one Friday a year you can make an exception for this is like right around holiday season when everybody is home. Like Fridays around Christmas are different than like a Friday that you're going out like again in September. I don't know. I feel like they could make Friday work. So I assume there's going to be standalone games. Are they all going to, it's going to be like Friday, then one Saturday morning, then one Saturday afternoon, one Saturday night. Is that how they're going to do it?
They'd have to.
Yeah. And then the quarterfinals are on one's New Year's Eve, and then 3 are on New Year's Day. And then listen to this. The semifinals, one's on a Thursday and one's on a Friday.
Okay.
See, I don't like that.
I don't like that.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
I mean, I'm going to watch it. It could be at 10 a.m. on a Monday morning, and we're going to be watching it. But I agree with the Friday take, Brandon, from the holidays. Like if you're in December 20s, like if Friday, December the 20th, like that's okay. Like you can't have Friday, December 18th. Like as long as it's like 5 days before Christmas. But after Christmas, a Thursday, Friday seems odd.
It's really a good point. The December 20s are their own world.
Yeah.
Time doesn't operate the same in the December 20s as it operates any other time of year. Time, days, they're not the same as every other week of every other year.
No, and as soon as like the clock strikes midnight between December 19th and December 20th, like all bets are off. Like that, it just becomes the Bermuda Triangle. You don't know what day it is. You don't know what time it is.
You're traveling.
Yes.
You're in the mall because the gift you got didn't come in time. Also, the national championship will now be on Monday, January 20th.
See?
That's late.
That's what, I mean, we're getting close to the Super Bowl at that point. That's what I thought. It'd be late January.
And then in 2025, it will be, this sounds like a fake date, Monday, January 19th, 2026. 2026 sounds fake.
I'm not going to be around December in 2026. Y'all handle that yourselves. I'm not going to be around.
All the memes that are going around right now that was like, you know, you need to sit yourself down and prepare yourself that 2024 is a month away and that the beginning of 2019 was 5 years. Let you process that. The fact that COVID was almost 4 years ago is wild.
I don't. Time's stupid. Okay. Now I had this take earlier this week. I want to repeat it for you guys, and I've had this take on the show before, so it's not a new take, but it is, in fact, something I'd like to talk about as a jumping off point to talk about the transfer portal. As these bowls, yesterday we had a bowl in the afternoon, which ended up being a great game. Old Dominion blew a 28-0 lead and lost to Western Kentucky in overtime. But bowl season no longer owns January. It is no longer the most important part of college football in January or December, excuse me. Bowl season no longer owns December. what December now belongs to is, it was early signing day for high schools, and that was the biggest thing. That's now the second biggest thing. December is now the transfer portal season. It is all about the transfer portal. It is all about how these teams are going from good to great, all about how they're going from players are going from point A to point B and what it's going to look like next year, quarterback movement, all of that. That's what December is now. So 40 years ago, did we watch a bunch of decent bowls and then get ready for the explosion on January 1st? Yes. Well, college football has changed and changed rapidly, and now you have a season, which is September to the end of November. Then you have transfer portal season in December, and frankly, it's taken on a life of its own where it's as interesting and as tumultuous as any season we've ever had. The transfer portal has become its own living, breathing thing in college football, Casey.
And it's taking over everything because, even if you just go to, pick your regular news site, let's just say ESPN for this argument, and you go and you look at the homepage for college football in seasons past, right now, going into Christmas, all the headlines on the side are going to be about different bowl games. You may have some coaching news, you may have like an off the field situation, but most of the time it's always been about bowl games. If you go look right now, the top, 8 to 9 headlines have nothing to do with football being played. Absolutely nothing. It's all about who's transferring, who's waiting to announce where they're going to go. Obviously, Ole Miss is in the news right now. Oregon's in the news, and it's all about where these players are going to land. And that's going to keep getting bigger and bigger as we go into the 12-team playoff system. Because once the 12-team playoff system happens, unless your bowl game is being played and your team is watching, I feel like no one is going to care outside of those 12 teams and the transfer portal. Bowl season will cease to exist the way that it always has. Yeah, you might gamble on it. You might turn it on TV in the background, but you don't actually care about those games. You care about where, the big quarterback is going to go or who's going to take somebody from their rival team. And we're seeing that happen right now before we even expand.
Do you think things have gotten out of control?
Yes, but not to the point where they need to be. It's not a matter of college football is spiraling out of control. It is a matter of this sport is changing. It is changing rapidly, and it is a new day. And any old heads sitting there and saying, well, it ain't college football like it used to be. Yeah, well, guess what? Like it used to be, they just gave the players the money under the table and everybody hushed up about it, okay? They were getting paid back then, too. It was dirty as fuck back in your day. I promise you, whether it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Now it's above board and everybody's a free agent and it's out there, and you might get mad at Johnny for playing at your team this year and somewhere else next year. Well, guess what? Johnny went and improved his fucking life. That's what he did. So I got players going off my team and going somewhere else. Guess what? They took an opportunity and went somewhere. You know what I did a couple of years ago? I moved from Mississippi to New Jersey to Chicago. Why? More exposure, more money, more everything. And that's what these players are doing. So what kind of piece of shit would I be if I got mad at these players?
It's so
I'm not mad at the players.
I'm not mad. No, I'm not mad. No. But I do think there's a section of college football, part of the old heads, Jack, who are like, man, this is out of control. This ain't the sport I'm used to. This ain't college football. This ain't right, y'all. Well, it is right. And it's the new world, and you got to get used to it.
So, yeah, it makes us think it's almost a thought process, the thought test, the thought experiment about why we care about the teams we care about in college football. Obviously, we all care about our schools, but then there's other teams and whatnot, why we love it. And I was thinking about it yesterday, and as you were talking, you love the team. And yeah, maybe a lot of the players on every team that you play, they come from, instead of just coming from a high school, they come from another school and whatnot. Does it take away from like the continuity, or I said that wrong, but continuity of guys being there and guys continuing to be there?
No,
that's kind of a little bit of a knock on college basketball that changed a lot when it became very clear that a lot of players were going from just 1 year, and then the same players aren't in March Madness.
Yeah,
I think it's a little bit different for football. You're cheering a lot more for the logo, and the same is for college basketball. I'm not trying to get on college basketball. I'm just thinking out loud. It's like, why does it matter if DJ Uiagalelei is my quarterback next year?
What the transfer portal does, I think it exposes the hypocrisy of college football fans, of sports fans in general, but particularly college football fans. Because when we lose transfers from our team, it's the end of the world. It's the worst thing. These guys are not playing football for the right reasons. All they want is the money. Nothing matters anymore. They're not like they used to be. But when my team adds a transfer, well, now, damn, this guy, he's trying to, this is the missing piece. This is who we need. This is the guy. Welcome him with open arms. It's that, and it truly is. It's always been about the name on the front of the jersey in college football. That doesn't mean the guys with the name on the back of the jersey can't take care of themselves. But I have realized, as players come and players go, Mississippi State will have 85 guys on scholarship next year playing for Mississippi State. Does it matter to me who they are, or does it matter to me that they're good? It matters to me that they're good.
Correct.
And that's the same with everybody else. It doesn't matter who they are. It matters if they're good from a fan's perspective. Now, from the who they are point of view, those guys deserve to go get their money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
I have a question for you, because this is obviously coming up for a lot of different fan bases, and all of us in our own little world see it with our fan base. But I saw a take the other day from, some Aggie fan account that was like, I hate the quote, once an Aggie, always an Aggie, because these guys who come in, play for a couple years, and then leave, they're not Aggies anymore. Yeah. And of course, it's exactly what you're saying. Like, it's the bitching and moaning across the board at every school. But to me, it's like there are so many people holding on to the loyalty aspect, because it's like, I chose to go to Texas A&M. I chose to graduate from Texas A&M. But that's not what these players are doing. And so, like, my question is like this whole loyalty thing, Brandon, like, what do you say to those people? Because it's like,
I would say fans are fickle, and they want loyalty when it benefits them. Because if you want loyalty, then keep Jimbo Fisher as your head coach. Keep him for as long as you can possibly keep him. If you want loyalty, then sign a bunch of guys who want to play under Jimbo Fisher, and then don't fire their coach. So, but you don't want loyalty. What you want is victory. You want to win. Therefore, you get rid of that coach. Now, some guys that played for him might want to go play for somebody else because you got rid of their coach. Can you be mad at that? No. Loyalty in college football has always been a myth. It really has. There's always been a reason a player goes to a certain school. There's always been a reason a player stays at a certain school. We just didn't know about it. And we all pretended that we didn't know about it, even though we kind of did. So you can take loyalty in college football and throw it out the fucking window, because it's never really mattered. Coaches have always gone from stepping stone 1 to stepping stone 2. Now players are, and it's not a problem. Now, I can't go any further without having this conversation that I need to personally have with everybody.
Oh boy.
It can't be ignored that certain schools are succeeding in the transfer portal era more than others. And certainly Ole Miss is the shining example right now of how to use the transfer portal. Lane Kiffin has figured this thing out. He is ahead of the curve. He adapted to it early. He accepted it early, and he has kind of perfected the transfer portal model of bringing in players to fill in the gaps on his team. They went 10-2 this year. They played Penn State in the Peach Bowl, whatever. But I'd be lying if I wasn't jealous about how he is doing this. He is going out and he is getting great players. The defensive rusher, the edge rusher from Florida. They're the favorite to land Walter Nolan from Texas A&M.
Sad.
Juice Wells from South Carolina. A couple defenders from Tennessee. Got a cornerback from Mississippi State. The guy is going out there and he is making his team better using the transfer portal and using the model that we have in college football. Lane Kiffin's doing a phenomenal job, and Ole Miss is at the forefront of this thing. And you got to tip your cap to them and say, wow, they're doing one hell of a job over there. Now, some people want to reduce that and say, well, they're just spending all the money. They're overpaying. They're doing this. They're throwing dollars around. And to which I say, that's probably exactly what they're doing. And that's the smartest thing you could possibly do. However, Ole Miss has figured one thing. Ole Miss has an advantage that other teams don't have. They have been on the forefront of an NIL collective. They have a lot of money. They've accrued a lot of money, and they are spending that money to make themselves better. And that makes sense. That's what they should be doing. But a lot of teams could do that and fail. Because what you need is a combination of money and a competent, savvy head coach and coaching staff that know how to attain players that you can trust, because players aren't stupid anymore. A guy like Princely, and I'm not even going to say his last name, but Princely from Florida, who had the choice. He could stay and play for a shitty head coach and play for a bad coaching staff, or he can go out there and play for a coaching staff on the cutting edge that's winning games at Ole Miss. And if you have a competent coaching staff, a good coach, plus the money, that's where it all makes beautiful music. And Ole Miss is doing that. Shout out to Lane Kiffin. He's killing it. Shout out to Ole Miss. They're killing it. So we're going to see if more teams follow that model. But this is not a matter of them just going to the cash register and ringing up a bunch of sales. This is a matter of them being on the cutting edge of this thing and Lane Kiffin being very good at what he does.
And also,
and God damn, did I give them some credit just now? What a classy guy I am.
Brandon, I was waiting for the but I kept waiting for you, because I know everything that you just said you do believe, whether people think you're saying it to pander to Ole Miss fans or whatever. Like,
why would I ever pander to Ole Miss?
Sometimes when you say nice things about Ole Miss, then you get the people that I see it on Twitter, because I do this, it happens to me too, where then you've got like Mississippi State fans being like, well, he's just saying that to, play nice. No, you actually believe that. You actually believe everything that you just said.
I mean, it's like waking up and looking outside and saying, is the sun there? I mean, not acknowledging what they're doing in the transfer portal would be crazy.
And so here's my question for you. And this is not just like a Lane Kiffin Ole Miss question. This is in general, because obviously, and Ole Miss fans know this better than anybody too. Like, when you can have multiple 10-win seasons at a program that had never had that before, quite literally never had that before Lane Kiffin became the head coach. And now you're getting these players and you're getting these headlines. What does next year's expectations look like? Because if you're winning 10 games and you're getting all the best players in the country in the transfer portal, what's the next level of that?
Well, you do this to make the college football playoff next year, the 12-team playoff. You do this because you would have been right in the mix for it this year, but next year you have the opportunity to go to playoff, and you see that you have a returning quarterback. Jackson Dart is very good, a returning running back who's very good, a returning offense that is going to be very good. Now, defensively, you didn't look all that good this year. You had moments where you were good, moments where you were not so good. But in order to compete for a national title in the playoff, you need to add defense. That's what they've done. They saw the opportunity with this offense and this coach to go all in and cash their chips in and say, you know what, 2024 could be really special if we supplement this defense and bring in the guys. They brought in the guys, and you do that to win a national title. Will they be good enough to win a national title? I don't know. It'd be very hard to overcome the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Georgias of the world have been doing this for 40 and 50 years now. But if you don't try, you'll never win anything.
Mm-hmm.
The
schedule.
Bud Elliott made a really good point on Twitter recently that this will be a new trend where a team will look at their schedule for the next year and say, hey, we have a shot. Yeah. And Ole Miss's schedule, they still have to play Georgia next year, but they avoid Alabama. They still have to play LSU. They avoid Texas. And they get Oklahoma at home. So essentially, the thought process for Ole Miss at this point in time is, hey, we have a pretty good team. We have a returning quarterback. We know we will compete no matter what. But hey, boosters, if you want to spend your money, let's do it right now. Spend a little bit more this year because we have a shot. And if we have a shot, we're going to go all in, and let's go all in on the transfer portal. And then we'll move from there. And I think we'll see this more and more. Teams will recognize that their upcoming schedule allows them to go 11-1 or 10-2 and be in the playoff conversation. And they're going to do everything they can to get to that point, because I think they're probably telling their boosters, hey, we'll compete at a top 30 recruiting level every year. We're not going to compete against Georgia, Alabama, and whatnot for those high school recruits. But in the transfer portal, we can. And we're going to do it. And, yeah, they may be gone after next year, but we're going to go this year. We're going to go. And they're pretty much like a team that sees like the Jets this year. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers got hurt, but they went for it. They signed contracts that were dumb, but it was like, hey, we're going for it.
It's with everything that's changing, it's like gone are the days of, hey, you bring in a head coach and they have to get all their guys, right? Where it's like, hey, just give them a couple years, all the recruits are going to be there. And now it's, you can get this roster right away. You don't have to wait the 2, 3, 4 years for an entire roster to be somebody's recruits, because they can be recruited all times.
I do think there's minimal risk here. There's risk. But again, if you push all your chips in, if you win, who cares? But there is risk that all the high school recruits you brought in the last year, 2 years, 3 years are just now on the back burner as you bring in the hired mercenaries to win games, and maybe they decide they would transfer themselves because you've taken away their opportunity. Kiffin seems to have kind of subverted that, and everybody's happy and everybody's is fine. Everybody's accepting their role. So we'll see how it works. I mean, they are a test case going forward of how far you can push in. I mean, it looks pretty damn. I'm envious of it. I am envious of what they have for next year, and we'll see how good it goes. Now, there are other transfer portal things that I don't understand as much. And
before we get to that, though, Brandon.
Yes.
You know what else we don't understand?
A lot of things.
Why people wouldn't want to help themselves grow more hair. Why people wouldn't want to put vitamins into their body. Why you wouldn't just go out and get Nutrafol right now. Because as we know, Brandon, good hair, it runs prevalent on this podcast. Hand up, I think that we have a pretty good podcast full of hair.
Oh, and I know that guys do, yeah.
Okay, please. The Nutrafol has helped me because I have had postpartum hair loss. And so they sent me the exact product that I need to help that, but they have stuff across the board because it is the #1 dermatologist recommended for hair growth supplement. It's clinically shown to improve hair growth, visible thickness, and scalp coverage. And most importantly, it's not just for your hair, it's for your entire body.
Yeah, I've learned recently that the hair up top might be thinning a little bit. Maybe it's time to plant some more seeds in the garden, make sure we're taking care of them. Huh?
It doesn't look like it.
From here it doesn't. But if I were to bend my head down, you would see.
Not that there's anything wrong with thinning hair, but
there's ways to take care of yourself though.
There is
take care of your hair health and stuff like that.
And it can help with stress.
Nutrafol, right?
Nutrafol, stress, hormones, environment, all those things it plays a factor in your hair, but this helps. And like I said, it's a full body vitamin too. So it's not just targeting your hair, it's targeting your entire body. 84% of men, Brandon, 84, that's a large number, have shown improvement in their hair after only 6 months of taking it. It's just, you just take a supplement every day. You don't have to go do the surgery, which again, nothing wrong with all those things, but why not get on board right now? Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off their first month subscription, free shipping when you go to Nutrafol. That's NUTRAFOL.com/men and enter the promo code UR. Why not? Why not? And girls out there, everybody wants luscious, thick, long hair. It helps whether you're dealing with postpartum or not. I know, Katie, you haven't had a baby recently, but you take the vitamins for women's hair growth, and it's helping you too.
100%. It's so easy. You wake up, you don't have to. I saw TikToks, people flying to Turkey and all that. No, it's right there. It's in the palm of your hand. It could not be more accessible.
Yep. We love Nutrafol. Go get it. And I don't know how many, I know there are a lot more women that listen to this podcast than we usually give credit. And when I go on the road, they come up to me and they talk to me, which is great. So thank you to all the women and the girls who listen to this. I also know that there are a lot of women who have kids that are listening to this. If you're dealing with postpartum hair growth or hair loss, this is your product. I promise I use it on a daily basis.
All right. Now, there are some things in the transfer portal I don't understand. And I just will never understand the mindset that some players apply to this thing. Because in life, money is great. Opportunity is greater. And to me, if I was entering the transfer portal, two things would be very forefront of my mind. How much are you going to pay me? And is there a clear path to playing? Because playing in college football is the very most important thing. If you don't play, none of the other shit matters. The money will run out. And one of the examples of this, Dante Moore was one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the country last year in the class of 2023. He was a 5-star, He ended up going to UCLA. Now, his recruitment was a whirlwind. He committed, decommitted. Finally signed with UCLA, played a little bit for Chip Kelly this year. Had a turnover problem, but whatever. He was a freshman. Well, he entered the transfer portal, and he announced on Monday he is headed to play for the Oregon Ducks, which makes sense. Oregon's a hell of a program. Bo Nix, the reclamation project there was incredible. They've been great for a long time, and I'm sure it's wonderful to play quarterback for the Oregon Ducks. The only problem is there's another guy that had that idea too. Dillon Gabriel, who's in his 5th, 6th, 7th, 28th year of college football, transferred there and is presumably going to be their starter next year, which means Dante Moore is choosing to go somewhere and not play. Now, it's for a year, and maybe he develops, and yeah, then he'll have a year or two to be the starting quarterback on his own. However, like I said, money is key. Opportunity is better than money. And any guy that willingly transfers somewhere to not play, I will never, ever, ever understand it. And I don't care if it's just for a year. You only get 4 to 5 years to play college football. It's a very, very, very small window. Get your ass on the field. I don't understand these guys that choose to go somewhere where it's not very clear they're going to start. There's 130 jobs in this country. There's 65 power jobs. Go get one.
I agree. Crazy? No, you're not crazy. And to the point where when I saw the Dante Moore news come through, my first thought was, did Dillon Gabriel make a mistake? And I know Dillon Gabriel is much older, has more experience. I understand that. But my thought was, well, if Dante Moore could go anywhere in the country, I mean, albeit maybe a couple different places that have their solid starter from last year, why would he agree to go to Oregon knowing that there is a starter that's for sure going to be playing? So my thought was, could Dante Moore take over that starting job, and did Dillon Gabriel jump the gun, leaving Oklahoma to go to Oregon? Because that to me is that crazy. Dante Moore was such a highly touted recruit. And yeah, like you said, it wasn't perfect at UCLA, but why would he go sign up to play somewhere behind Dillon Gabriel?
Jack, you have a take on this?
We have to remember Dante Moore was supposed to go to Oregon. And then there was some Michigan State. He's from Detroit, and then he also flipped to UCLA late in the recruiting process last year. He may have just really liked Dan Lanning and Oregon as a whole, saw Bo Nix, very similar games, and said, hey, that's where I want to be. And yeah, I may have to sit behind Dillon Gabriel this year, but I don't want to play at UCLA anymore. I don't think he had fun with Chip Kelly.
Right.
He thought it was going to work out. And also, there may be an aspect of Dante Moore, because he played, realizing, hey, I need to be in the right system, and I may need to get a little bit better. Like he may have been like, hey, I just was not good enough. And Dan Lanning said, hey, we think you can be our future quarterback.
Yeah.
Come in here with Dillon, and then you'll be it after him. Now, here's the thing. He could get fucked, because what if there could be a quarterback next year in the portal, and then it's that. So that goes to your point. I'm just playing more devil's advocate, and he may like Oregon as a whole. Like, he likes the environment. You never know. Maybe like a girlfriend goes there or some shit. I don't know. I actually don't know. I know I'm the one that knows that stuff, but I don't know.
But that's why my question is there a possibility that Dante Moore was not told, you are for sure sitting behind Dillon Gabriel? Like, my thought is, like, did Dillon Gabriel know that Dante Moore was coming in a week after he made that decision? Because that to me also exists. It's like, do we know for sure that Dillon Gabriel is absolutely going to be the starter? No. So to me, it feels like maybe Dillon Gabriel made that decision not knowing that Dante Moore was going to be.
Dillon Gabriel, I would assume, is probably like, I'm much better than Dante Moore. Right,
but do you think that he knew Dante Moore was going to be potentially there?
I also think, well, Dillon Gabriel, you have to remember, he went to Oklahoma, and then they got Jackson Arnold. Like, he just went through this, and he still played, and it was just a little bit more like, as a quarterback, you kind of have to remember, hey, there's going to be competition. It's almost like if you're just like if you're at the top of the top, there's always somebody coming for you. And
sure. I'm not saying he made the wrong decision. I'm saying it's odd that in a less than a week span, you've got these two big time quarterback names going to Oregon. And whether it's Dante Moore saying, hey, I'm going to sit for a year, or it's Dillon Gabriel not knowing, like, to me, that's Like, it's great for Oregon. It's a great problem to have when you have two different quarterbacks. But in the world of the transfer portal where these guys can go wherever, to Brandon's point, it's weird to willingly sign up for a situation where you may not be playing. Because at the end of the day, you can make all the money in the world in college, but if you're not playing, you're not making the NFL money, which is the whole point to playing college football, is to play NFL.
We just watched Spencer Sanders throw his final year of eligibility away. He chose to go be Ole Miss's backup instead of Auburn's starter. Like, I'll never understand these guys, and maybe he's happy down there. I don't know. I don't know him, but I'll never understand not choosing the path towards playing first over anything else.
He's not happy to go to classes. He just became ineligible to even play in the bowl game. His college football career is over because he's academically ineligible. And
so he didn't go to class at all.
No.
Yeah, I think a movie could be made about his last year. Like, he was a starting quarterback for 3 years in the Big 12, had a good career going for himself, and then I guess just decided he was done playing. Just like, all right, I'm going to go to the square and get drunk every night, I guess. I don't know what he was doing.
He was getting oh no, I was saying he was going to Ajax and getting the cheese injected meatloaf every day instead of going to class.
Oh, Ajax is good.
It's delicious.
You see, like we saw with Texas A&M with the high school recruits, them being bought. Are we going to start to see a cycle of that with the transfers? I think it might be different because I think the transfers, like Brian said earlier, is for 1 year. You need them to stay together for 1 year to be good. Or do you think we're going to see the kind of everyone's bought, everyone's there for me, and there's not going to be buying enough to last a season?
Everyone's bought. The way you don't have cultural problems is you win. Like everybody could be bought. If you win a national, like look at Alabama, then you leave and the player, one of your best players ever, goes, yeah, I got paid in rings. Like, yeah, shut up, Derrick Henry. We all know what was going on over there. Like, that's how you avoid cultural problems.
But he had the best of all worlds, right? Like, he got paid under the table, whether they'll ever admit it or not, and won rings. And in reality, going back to the loyalty conversation, like in a perfect world, if you are a college football fan, you want every single player to want to put on that jersey because of the name on the front, right? You want an entire 85 scholarship player, an entire roster being like, I want to play for this school, and then also to win. That's an ideal world. That doesn't happen very many places, if any at all. So now you have to pick and choose as a fan what you care most about, which is winning. And as a player, you also have to pick, do you care more about making money in the short term or going somewhere where you could potentially make money in the long term and then win? And very few schools have figured all of that out. Ohio State, Alabama, it just depends on the year. Georgia, Michigan. That's not the perfect world for everybody. And these players are going to have to start making those decisions.
Speaking of perfect worlds, how about one where we trust the #1 meal service kit in the country, huh?
Look at you.
You can say hello to a stressless holiday season with the help of HelloFresh. You can skip the grocery store and save time with easy, tasty recipes delivered to your door. 'Tis the season for giving and gathering. And with HelloFresh, it can also be the season of saving. Actually, save money this month with fresh recipes delivered, cheaper than takeout. And with pre-portioned ingredients, you'll never waste money on excess food. After a full day of work, there's still so much to do. Some days it feels like eating a wholesome dinner is next to impossible, but not with HelloFresh. Casey, I know you enjoy HelloFresh often, and I'm sure with a young son there, you don't have that much time to cook, but HelloFresh makes it easy.
Well, I also was never like a big time. Once I moved to New York and I realized how easy takeout is, I hardly ever cooked. Like when I lived in Boston, I cooked all the time, moved to New York, didn't want to do it. HelloFresh has made me cook again. And I know this is a trust tree here. Our podcast is a trust tree.
Yeah.
I put on my Instagram story that I was homemaking a shepherd's pie, which is true. And I was actually mashing the mashed potatoes with my hand. I didn't use instant. I chopped those babies up and and it looked so good because I love shepherd's pie, especially when it's cold. The amount of people that DM'd me that were like, yeah, I can make it too with HelloFresh. Phenomenal. The shepherd's pie HelloFresh is phenomenal, but I was tricking everybody, making it look like I was actually making it by myself without help. No, HelloFresh helped me cheat.
Cold? Can we go back to that? Cold?
You're truly a bad person.
You said you like shepherd's
when it's cold outside. When it's cold outside.
Oh, okay, fine. Sorry, I think when the food cold. Okay.
But also shepherd's pie the next day cold is also very good.
Everybody just stop talking. Spend your time. I know, but y'all are getting caught up on the cold. Spend your time shopping. Spend your time.
I got it. Spend your time making HelloFresh. I don't know where you were going with that, but that's what you need to do. Spend your time shopping for gifts and sipping cocoa, not stuck in the checkout line.
Go to HelloFresh.com/WalkerFree and use code WalkerFree for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/WalkerFree with code WalkerFree. Now,
and get the shepherd's pie on the menu because it's delicious.
One bit of news that is not transfer portal related, but is player acquisition related. It has, in fact, happened where Dylan Raiola, the #1 quarterback in the country, who was committed to Georgia, moved to Buford, Georgia, to be their quarterback this year, to be close to Athens, has decommitted from Georgia and committed to Nebraska, meaning Matt Rule has his big fish, has his cornerstone, has his building block for the future. And while I do not subscribe to the theory that college football is better when Team X is good, like Nebraska fans want, like Tennessee fans want, I do subscribe to this theory, which I get tired of 5-star players thinking the only places that they can have success are Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and a list of 7 or 8 schools. I think this country would be, or this product would be better throughout the country if 5 stars would go to Nebraska, would go to Ole Miss, would go to Arizona, would go to Oregon State, would go to schools all across this country. I think the fact that for years we've had a concentration of 5 or 6 schools to get every good player is bad. And when Nebraska steps up and grabs the #1 quarterback in the country, it's way more interesting than Georgia getting another in a long line of great quarterbacks.
So what you're saying is it's good when Nebraska has good players.
Not what I said at all.
I just wanted to make you mad. I just wanted to make you mad. I know that's not what you said. I just wanted to make you mad. But I do agree with you that the parity, and we've had this argument on this podcast a million times, parity is good for the sport. Seeing different colors, even just like on the logos for the 4 teams, is great. This to me is a big indication on what Matt Rule is planning to do in the future for Nebraska. And we talked about him last week when he came out and he said, you know, there is no regulation. It's not like the NFL, the contract situation. He didn't use these words, but we did. It's kind of out of control. But the fact that he went out and he said, hey, these are how much these big time quarterbacks are costing. And it was kind of like a speech to his own boosters to a certain degree. I feel like he's kind of been leading up to that. Now they go get their guy for however much that costs them. That is a great thing for Nebraska fans. And it didn't seem surprising to me, right? Like this was something that was in the rumor mill for a while, that Dylan Raiola was going to go to Nebraska. But if you're Nebraska right now and you have a coach that seems to be bought all into the Cornhuskers and he has this big fish quarterback who's supposed to be pretty good, you've got to be very excited.
Yeah, no, you have to be. And I don't know. I just like seeing guys, big time guys, not go to Alabama, not go to Georgia. And there's no shot against those programs. Those programs are doing what they have to do. But it's just, there's a big wide world out there, fellas. It's just, let's spread the wealth around.
Well,
Jack, any thoughts on this? Oh.
No, I was going to say, like, I think we're all on the same page. Like, you know, and Brandon, you mostly, because you are the #1 college football media personality in the country.
There's it right there.
It is. It's right behind you. But to me, if I had the opportunity to go somewhere like Nebraska or, you know, insert name, Ole Miss, like we were talking about with Lane and what he's doing, and you can go then bring that program back to prominence, like you are the guy that gets to go. Like if Dylan Raiola then becomes like the best player Nebraska's seen in years versus you're in a long line of players at Georgia. Not that there's anything wrong with that because winning rings is winning rings. But to me, that's an awesome feeling to know that you potentially could go resurrect a program that's been just absolutely like drowning in their tears, begging for someone to come save them. That seems like more fun to me than just being the next 5-star guy in Nick Saban or Kirby Smart's line. Now, I'll take a ring no matter what. But
you can get a statue of yourself in Nebraska. You can't get a statue of yourself in Tuscaloosa. Go ahead, Jack.
It's challenging, though. It's going to be challenging.
It's a lot harder.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have less players. You're going to have less skillful players. You're going to be playing the same competition. I get it. I mean, he'll be fine. I think it's huge for Nebraska. I really hope it works out. But this is the classic 5-star quarterback conundrum. Sometimes these guys just stink. You know, like we saw this with USC so there's kind of, it feels like there's this weird thing happening at USC right now. Malachi Nelson is leaving. He was a 5-star. But I was thinking, what if Lincoln Riley got him and was just like, you're just not that good, dude. Like, it's possible. That being said, he did play high-level high school football and was really good. But sometimes these guys get up here. We see it with 5-stars. What's the stat? I think 5-star quarterbacks, 50% of them work. That doesn't mean you don't get a 5-star quarterback, or you, like, Nebraska should be like, no. And I don't think anyone's saying this is a guarantee. I think more people are like you two. They're just, hey, this is amazing. This is great. And we could look back on this flip, this commitment flip, and say to ourselves, that was the moment. That was it. And good for Nebraska. And their fans deserve it. I really hope he's good. I have some concerns.
What are your
He's
concerns?
very flaky. He's a flaky kid, man.
Well, I played like 4 high schools. Kid. Yeah.
Spent $8 billion. He moved to Georgia, and he was like, actually, I don't want to do this. And then he goes to Nebraska.
Going to Georgia, going to Buford, Georgia, playing the season, the second the season ends, being like, nah, you know what? Never mind. That's pretty crazy, right?
And it's not like, oh, you're like Kirby left, or Georgia had this awful, like Georgia just lost the game to Alabama. That's it.
And in multiple other past years, they would still be in the playoff. It was just because there were so many other teams stuffed in there this year. But I mean, in other, like last year, that could have easily happened. So I don't know. I do see the flakiness, but I wonder, like, if he goes to Nebraska, right? And as Brandon said with the statue thing, like, we've seen it happen at schools across the country. Like, obviously it happened at mine. If you can go in and you are like, no matter what happens after the second you step off of campus, you are welcome back there for the rest of time. You eat for free, you drink for free, whatever. Maybe he goes to Nebraska and sees like, hey, I can do this, has some success with Matt Rule. And then all of a sudden it's like, why would I leave? I'm the king here.
All right, I have one more thing I'd like to talk about real quick, but before I do, I got to tell you about Ultimate Pro Football GM, where you can improve your skills in managing a pro football team. The game has a realistic feel. You can draft, you can trade, you can manage every strategic decision. The game is fun, addicting, and easy to learn. Talking about Ultimate Pro Football GM. It's a mobile game that is completely free, no ads, and it is playable offline. Here's what you do if you want to play it. If you want to be in charge of your own pro team, you want to be the GM, you want to be making all the decisions, you download the game. To download the game, go to barstoolgm.com. That's barstoolgm.com, or look up Ultimate Pro Football GM on the App Store. And when you do that, use code BARSTOOL, BARSTOOL, in all caps in the game store for a 100% free boost to your franchise. I'll repeat that. Download the game, go to barstoolgm.com. That's barstoolgm.com, or look up Ultimate Pro Football GM on the App Store and use code BARSTOOL in all caps in the game store for a 100% free boost to your franchise. Okay. One more thing I have, and then, Casey, if you have time for your little stupid shit, you can do it.
By the way, you loved the Halloween one and the Thanksgiving one, but I'm going to save it for
the next episode. I kind of want to do the Christmas one.
But
can we do it in 16 minutes, or do you want to let's do it Thursday?
Let's do it Thursday.
Okay.
I mean, we could, but we
have a
good.
It's been a hell of an episode.
Well, I got one more thing in lieu of the.
I have
one other thing.
Okay.
I have one other thing too.
All right.
So we all have one more thing, but just so everybody that's listening or watching, the way that we did the Halloween edition, the way that we did the Thanksgiving edition, which I feel like has gotten some good feedback, we will have a full Christmas edition the next episode. Brandon, go ahead.
So we are turning the calendar to a new year, which means this year, in about 6 months, we will get the return of the NCAA football game on EA Sports. It has been a decade, and by the time we get it, it will have been 11 years, which begs the question now that NIL is a thing, and we have talked about this hypothetically, but now we're kind of circled back. Who y'all think they're throwing on the cover of that thing? I think it's going to be a current player. I don't think they're going to do a former player. So I'm going to go Shedeur Sanders has to be one of the leaders in the clubhouse for this. I think now that we have the news that Carson Beck is coming back to Georgia, Jalen Milroe is somebody that could be up there for discussion.
May I ask a dumb question? Because I don't know. We've gone over this for years. I don't know anything about this game. So if it is a current player now with the NIL, don't they have to be paid if they're on the cover?
Oh yeah. They'll be paid.
So it's going to be whoever accepts the. I feel like
the thing is, used to, Casey, what they would do is you would have NCAA. You would play the 2011 season, right?
Okay.
And then the next year you would have the game, but you would take whoever the best college player was who went to the pros and throw him on the game.
Gotcha.
So it would be like Johnny would be on a year after he left A&M.
That's what I'm saying. So they would have to pay a current player now.
Yeah, but they'll get to pay it. Look, back then it would have been current players every year. They just couldn't do it. Now they can pay a current player, and it can be a current player. I think Shedeur Sanders got to be in the mix for 1-1 here. I would think with his star profile, right?
They're going to put Dion on it.
They might.
Wasn't he on the cover of Madden last year?
He was on one of them. I think he was on an alternate cover to it.
Like
maybe?
they're like when you like turn it on. Like I not a video game person, but I live with a video game person. That every time I turn it on, there was like the Dion like slate on it.
Oh, very possibly, very possibly. So what do y'all think? Y'all, anybody else?
Shedeur would be probably a lock because they also know that will cater to like anybody who sees Shedeur Sanders, regardless of if they're actually paying attention in college football. I guess if you're buying that game, you do. But if they do former players, I mean, I like it from last year, like if they do the old model where they go get somebody from last season, like I know that they didn't finish well, but like Caleb Williams wouldn't be a crazy one, right?
So, here's an idea.
Yeah.
JJ McCarthy, maybe?
God, no.
You sit down and you say, hey, who would have been on the cover for every year since we stopped?
Yeah.
And you either randomly put those out or you put them all on the cover. So it's like
a collage of them.
Collage of them. So it's like, hey, Johnny's on one.
Derrick Henry.
Joe
Burrow.
Lamar Jackson.
Just so on and so forth. And then you could randomly have like, oh, when you go to the store, I know you don't buy video games at the store anymore, but that would randomly have the cover. It would just be either random or it's all of them on it. And it's like, hey guys, sorry, but this is what, Ed O'Bannon he fucked us, but here's your cover.
You know what would be an interesting, like a little experiment? Say they did what you just said, Jack, and then you got to go choose. Like whenever, you go online and you're like, okay, I want the Lamar Jackson version. And then after however many months, see which one was purchased most. Like you say, okay, like if the one with Johnny Manziel has the most buys and he gets a bonus with that. Like I would maybe I'm just a nerd. I would love to see those numbers.
I'd buy all 10. All of them. I'd buy all of them.
Just to display them, or just because you're a giving guy? Just to have them.
I got to get my hands on that Baker Mayfield. I got to get it. I got to get all of them. I got to get all of them.
Kyler Murray one.
You know what? EA Sports, go ahead and throw Dak on there. I'll buy 2 of those. I'll buy 2 of them.
It would be very fascinating to see like what the collective college football fan base and video game fan base thought what the best cover was.
So without giving it away there, I will say that the number 1 college football personality in the country was very right on some teams this year. And there's been some movement behind the scenes to make sure that the number 1 college football personality in the world gets to one of these places and gets its recognition maybe in the spring. So
are you going to announce that, or?
I'm not, but we're maneuvers are starting to be made.
Okay. Jack, what was the thing that you wanted to add to the end of the episode?
You muted yourself.
Muted.
2 questions. Who is the best quarterback left in the portal right now? And then who do you think will be the best quarterback from the portal overall? I know maybe you guys, I'll give you a few seconds to pull up a list or whatever in case you because there's so many, I've forgotten some too.
I would say so far coming out of the portal, I really think Van Dyke's going to get a new life.
Really?
Yeah, I think Van Dyke is a lot better than he showed the last 2 years. You don't look that good as a freshman without some real skill to you. So I think Van Dyke getting up there and And maybe I'm falling in the same trap because I thought the last guy Wisconsin got was going to be good.
Well,
and he really wasn't.
Could you? I mean, and I hand up, I've been there too. But could we also still be falling in that we just truly believe in Tyler Van Dyke for like the 3rd season in a row?
Oh yeah, I don't think I'll ever get over Tyler Van Dyke.
No, I won't either. Although you say that, eventually you do. Like I eventually got over Spencer Sanders. I mean, not Spencer Sanders, Spencer Rattler. It took a little bit, but you do eventually put the pipe down.
Coming out, we still don't know where Cam Ward's going, right?
No, Will Howard is 100% crystal balled somewhere on 24/7.
To USC.
Any guesses where? Yeah, that he's going as a backup.
No,
is he going to start for you next year?
Yeah, he would be there. I mean, Caleb's gone. The
Malachi Nelson's gone.
Yeah, he would be their guy. I really think there might be some screwy things going on at USC or something because, like Will Howard, no knock against him. Nothing about him screams USC starting quarterback to me.
Exactly.
Do we know where KJ Jefferson's going yet?
No, not yet. He just
I'll tell you where he needs to go. The unemployment line. Get a job. We were talking about the transfer portal. We're gonna put a new rule in right now for the transfer portal. Clip this, Katie. Clip this. If you played football against Joe Burrow, you cannot play football in 2024. All right. If you played football in college against Joe Burrow and LSU, you cannot play.
It goes back to the beginning of the episode, Jack. 2019 is almost 5 years ago.
I don't want to be the guy that goes against a great point. I really don't. Did KJ Jefferson play in 2019?
Oh, yep. Don't worry. I checked it out. Don't worry.
I don't feel like he would have gone on
in the game that they lost.
I do not believe that Jack would have said that without double checking that.
You can check
2019.
That's how crazy it is.
God damn, he did. He for sure as hell did.
He did. Okay. Also, just quickly.
Yeah.
Malik Murphy, who we thought would be this big time transfer get, he looks like he's going to Duke, which and then
Duke without Mike Elko too.
We should shout out Aiden Chillis or Chilis, however you say his name. He's going to Michigan State. They're pretty excited about that.
Morgan State.
Syracuse is putting together a nice little roster.
Yeah.
Which with their new head coach, Kyle McCord's going to Syracuse, which I will say.
That shocks
Syracuse fans are excited. They pretty much created the greatest recruiting coaching staff in the history of civilization. It's just I don't know if they can coach, but they can recruit.
Yeah, and Kyle McCord is fascinating to me because Ohio State fans will just stare you down and say, well, he was terrible. He was awful. Marvin Harrison Jr. made him. He wasn't bad. He against Michigan, he made some great throws. He made some great decisions. He made some great plays. He also had 2 terrible throws.
He also was he was young. Like it's not like he'd been there.
He's not that young though. That's the problem. He just didn't play much until this.
Yeah, but it's like not like he's I say young. Like his playing time.
Inexperience is a better word.
Inexperience. That's the word. It's not like he'd been the starter for 3 years and then went out and did what he did against Michigan. And they're like, all right, we're finally done with this guy. I'm not saying he was going to be the answer, but I do feel like they're much tougher on him because if they would have beaten Michigan, and obviously if they would have beaten Michigan, they'd be in the playoff. But still, that's the only thing that matters to Ohio State right now because now they're 3 years. Okay, so our friend Josh Pate. Well, I know he's me, Katie, and Jack's friend. I don't know where you stand with him, Brandon.
Yeah, I don't like him. Go.
Okay, well, he did give Katie a lot, like her flowers yesterday for the Sarah McLachlan video. But he had, so I'm doing one of those first thing that comes to your mind. Don't think about it. He had a question on Twitter this morning that, of course, is blowing up because people love to argue this. Brandon Walker. Which dormant college football program would have the most insufferable fan base if they become elite? Go.
Oh, it's Nebraska, right? I mean, Nebraska they got a little bit of the St. Louis Cardinals thing where they love to talk about how good of a fan base they are. If any fan base ever says how good of a fan base they are, they're assholes. And Nebraska is a lion in sheep's clothing right now. They're coming to you Sir, we haven't been good in 2 decades. Please give us one of the quarterbacks. Okay, thank you very much. And as soon as they get the quarterback and they start getting good, they come back and they're just a fucking red wall of fucking assholery. That's what they're going. I'm telling y'all right now, y'all can fall for it and y'all can pet little Nebraska on the head, but soon you pet them on the head, they're going to turn around. They're going to be a fucking monster that eats all of college football Twitter. I've seen it before. Trust me on this.
How's your relationship with Will Compton?
I don't know who that is.
Okay. That answered my question. Okay, Jack, what was your answer? Who's the most insufferable if they become elite?
The long pondering.
I think Miami fans would get.
They'd be like,
Miami fans would. There'd be a whole. Oh, actually, I'll say it. No, I'll say it.
Say it.
If Colorado becomes elite under Deion Sanders, I quit college football.
Yeah, that would. But because that's not really Colorado's fan base so much as it's just the entire country that pretends to be Colorado fans.
And then it would just be like,
it's Casey Smith.
Yeah. I'm a real Deion fan. I'd like it on record that Deion could go coach anywhere and I would want that team to succeed. I don't think that's a secret. If he leaves Colorado, I don't care about Colorado. So put me in that. But I don't. If A&M plays Colorado 10 out of 10, I want A&M to win.
All right, you have one, Casey, because I pretty desperately need to go.
Well,
I A&M in mind.
Katie pointed at me earlier, and I don't know if this is just self-awareness.
Katie's right.
It's A&M.
Yeah, it's 100%.
It's absolutely A&M. And I responded to Josh Pate with like a Ross from Friends, like raising your hand. I'm proud of it. I truly believe that if A&M is elite, we would be the most insufferable fan base in college football. Period. Point blank. Proud of it.
You're already almost there, and you don't even have the elite part yet.
Again, when you care so much and you're emotionally attached to your team so much, you're called a cult. That's a good thing.
Cult. All right, let's shut her down. We'll be back Thursday to talk about other stuff that happens between now and then. That's how the show works. So we'll shut her down. We'll be back. We'll do a YouTube promo, and then that'll be it. That is unnecessary.
Wait, Katie has something to say.
Oh, did she? I wasn't looking.
I can't see the screen.
I can't see her.
Katie was raising her hand politely.
Brandon, you're going to want to keep the eye out on the mail in the office because we got a Mizzou fan who heard your pleas and you're getting some recognition.
Is that the representative?
Yeah.
Because he DM'd me to it during the show, and I was like, yeah, I've had multiple DMs from the state of Missouri today, from multiple people in high places.
It looks very official.
Yeah. All right. Shut her down. That's unnecessary roughness.